I think why are we talking about the circular economy? I think that the key point is not only this waste management or consumer preferences. We are in an existential crisis for the planetary health. We are next week we'll start the COP convention discussions. We still have the ambition that we would have 1.5 degrees centigrade temperature rise, but last year we were already on 1.55 degrees. So the world that we wanted to avoid has already arrived, and it's not the only one. If you see the planetary health check, which was released last month in New York, so we have 9 planetary boundaries, so which we need to respect to keep planetary conditions livable or habitable to people. 7 of those are transgressed. So we need to do something about this, and it's not longer something which will be a problem to solve for our kids or our grandkids. It will be for us in our retirement age to deal with this situation. Then I want to highlight that circular economy is a global policy priority. So we spoke a lot about the EU, but this is the Chatham House. They took stock of about 80 data points of circular economy, national roadmaps or action plans, and there's even more. So it's clearly as globally, EU may be taking a lead, but also here in the region. So circular global policy priority, we heard circular economy action plan under the green trade deal, then the eco design for sustainable products regulation, which means that we have to design for sustainability, and then the strategy for circular and sustainable textiles. Here in ASEAN, as we are hosting in ASEAN, we have a framework for ASEAN circular economy. We have ASEAN SCP framework, which is also talking about extended producer responsibility and issues. And out of the 10, I have to say it's 11 since the start of this week, countries of ASEAN, 7 have also national action plan on circular economy. So it's not something which is somewhere in Europe or far away, it's where we are operating. It's also a global business agenda. The Ellen MacArthur Foundation has had a program of circularity in textiles for 8 or 9 years now. Right now, they estimated that the circularity of the textile sector is just about 2%. So for every 100 kilos of textile fiber that we use, only 2 kilos is recycled. We have the World Business Council for Sustainable Development talking about circular transition indicators, so how do we adjust business processes. We have the global fashion agenda with the circular fashion partnership, the playbook for manufacturers in ASEAN to deal with their fabric waste. So it's clearly we don't have to compare. Circular economy is there and it won't disappear. Even if we hide under the table, it won't go away. I think what is important is that and I take here basically the interpretation of the ISO 59004, which was published last year. And if I transcribe that more or less, we're talking about resources which we take in the economy. It is cotton, it's polyester, which we take into textile economy and we produce waste. And what we are concerned about is the environmental impacts of this resource use and waste. And ultimately, it's about zeroing out net inputs and net outputs. If we do that, and that's what Switch Asia has been trying to emphasize, we have basically 3 options, 3 ways of thinking about it. The first one is the resource circularity, so we keep everything in circulation and repeat use, so every cycle. It's not about just one-time recycling, but what's the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, or basically endless recycling there. And then it's also about resource efficiency, so that's using less stuff to do the same stuff, to the same product or service. So dematerialization and also using stuff longer, repair, reuse, other things. And then the 3rd one is the resource substitution, so we can take advantage of the benefits which natural materials have, so go to renewable materials and renewable energy. And then ultimately we want something which looks like a circular value chain, where there's only limited new materials coming in, basically to accommodate demand for an expanding global population, but we need to keep the system closed. I think it's happening, and I wanted to just show some examples which we created with the Switch Asia program. So one area is certainly fabric to fabric recycling was also focused by rehabs, but it's happening in the region. If you say Babel, that's a startup company in Indonesia, is doing fabric to fabric recycling of post-consumer textile waste, which is basically workwear, uniforms. Bank Mandiri uniforms are recycled back into Bank Mandiri uniforms. And also some factory waste which are produced back into design or sorting. So important issue, they have to co-create fibers. So the fibers which they get from the mechanically recovered are not exactly the same as the virgin fibers, but they can be transformed into new fabrics with specific specifications. Something similar is done by SC Grant in Thailand, which is basically a third generation family business that basically was trading in textile waste and textile materials, and be set up now mechanical recycling of pre and post consumer textile waste. So next time you go on Thai Airways, the uniforms are partially recycled, or if FedEx is delivering the parcel, the cap is recycled. And so they basically cut and sort and then color sort, so you don't have to dye. So that's also the benefits. And a lot of it is because of the harsher quality. It's maybe going more into home textiles. So it's not your shirt going into next shirt. Then I think there's quite some movement also around repurposing textiles. So we should not tear the fabric apart, certainly when it's very good fabric. So Morloop is a startup in Bangkok, which is basically dealing with all the dead stock textile fabric which is sitting in the textile industry, which is good material, never used, so why should we tear it apart? So can we trade and create also opportunities for smaller designers, custom designers, which can create a new brand because they cannot access high quality material in the quantities that they need. At a small scale, it's also happening in the sort of community sewing centers. So this is Restyle, but in the Philippines, but it's also happening elsewhere. So you take post-consumer textile waste, you cut out the right pieces, and you stitch it together in bags or even in clothing. You have very unique products, which could be high value there as well. Then there's eco-design using recycled materials. Here's the example of Thai Wakol. There's basically a bra manufacturer in Thailand. They include now the recycled PET, which is from Indorama, the PET bottle recycling. They also do recycled nylon, which is fishing gear that's abandoned, and ecofoam in the bra products. They also look at reducing the material diversity in their products, so that's easier to recover and recycle. And they give they collect end-of-life products, and they have also extended use. And they also look at renewable energy, so it's not only the materials. ID Knitting is also a customer of Indorama. I think they are doing polyester knitting. I think the interesting part is that they're not only substituting then virgin with recycled polyester, but they've also innovated in the way the knitting techniques, and they produce now this cool mode fabric, which basically means that you still be comfortable even if it's 27 degrees, because the sweat evaporates more easily. So this could be having many advantages there, but depending then on consumer behavior. Eco-design with alternative fibers is also happening, so new fiber materials. Bio Manila is a niche brand, but it's clearly looking at sustainable materials, local cotton, but also fabric scraps. So instead of fabric, then converting back to fabric, so you just cut it and use it as an additional wrap in the weaving. Or also this bakong is basically a reed which can be used into textile fiber. And they do also a lot of work on fabric waste minimization, better planning of your cutting room operations, energy efficiency, water efficiency there. Lotus Farm in Samatoa in Cambodia is trying to revive this lotus silk industry. So from the lotus stem you can basically make also an alternative silk material, and with the waste that's then left over you can even make an alternative leather product. So it's quite interesting. It's maybe some of the challenges where it's maybe a bit of a niche application, but certainly new material opportunities from basically a waste stream before. Then I think there's lots of scope around resource efficient operations, so that's a bit what the additional secretary was also saying, the materials efficiency, the water efficiency, energy efficiency, doing that. So at Penn Brothers, which is a large supplier of to Adidas and other brands in Europe for sportswear, they have quite a lot of third-party pilots for fabric waste into recycling back into the uniforms for their own staff, for carpets, for patchworks. They do composting of food waste. They've done sustained efficiency upgrades, so the water intensity is about 45% less than it was 3 years ago, and energy intensity is also 5-10% lower, and then the greenhouse gas emissions much lower. And then they have eliminated single-use plastics and also, of course, installed rooftop energy. So it's not a single action, it's a part of it.